All right, guys, big news here. I'm super excited to get into this. Diablo 4 open beta retrospective, transforming feedback into change. I'm super excited to see the balance changes that they've made, but we're going to go over this from top to bottom. All right, let's read this. Dungeon layouts. One of the most common pieces of feedback we received is that players felt that they were doing a lot of backtracking within certain dungeons. We have optimized multiple dungeons across all zones to minimize the need for backtracking. Phenomenal. So essentially, some of these dungeons, just like the article says right here, that's kind of how it was designed. Now, I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Maybe we'll see some more here, but maybe like dungeon objectives. I guess this is just the layout. So yeah, okay, let's continue then. The chance for an event to spawn inside of a dungeon has increased from 10% to 60%. Wow, that's a lot. Small numbers of straggling monsters will seek out the player to help complete the kill all monster objective. This is fantastic. Is this going to solve the problem completely? I'm not sure, but is this way better than the current system? 100% it is. When Animus is gathered, the player and nearby allies will gain 10 resource, reduce all active cooldowns by 1 second. Okay. Depositing Animus channel was reduced from 3. If you're wondering what this is this is just the drop in the dungeons after killing a mob. It's just essentially like a light thing that drops from after killing mobs that you have to collect. Was reduced from 3 seconds to 0 seconds. Okay, so wow, they legitimately listened to the feedback. So the kill all monster objective, the channel time, all these things so far, man, big W there. All right, let's get into the classes now. General. Effects like stun and freeze can be applied to elite monsters twice as long before they become unstoppable. Reviewed class skills to confirm that all classes have access to sufficient skills that remove control impairing effects. Phenomenal. Many legendary powers have had updates to their effectiveness. Okay, we have to see. Barbarian, here we go. A flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class. Some skill tree passives have had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. Okay, I was gonna say, like, so this, like, changes like this, it sounds great for the early game, right? We all experienced in the early game for sure. This is amazing, but the concern that I have with changes like this is like, well, is this going to make them too tanky in the end game because we haven't experienced it yet? But right here, some skill tree passives have had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. That would make sense. So I'm going to assume that they know what they're doing in regards to this, okay? The Whirlwind skill now deals more damage and consumes more fury. Based off of how this skill felt in the beta test, I think this was a good change. For those of you who are Whirlwind enjoyers, if you're worried about consuming more fury was never really an issue, like, depending on, of course, how you were building it. Obviously, you'd run out of fury early on, but it felt like fury was really not going to be an issue with Whirlwind. I would definitely be on board with consuming more fury for more damage. The double swing skill enhancement refunds its full fury cost when used on stun or knockdown enemies. Okay, I think this is another really solid change, but we'll see how this goes in the end game. Druid here. I'm a little bit unsure about these changes here. Companion skill dealing heavily increased damage. Again, in the early game, this sounds great. I don't know about you guys, but if you take a look at some of the companion skill modifiers you get from legendaries, they have some juiced legendaries, and the actives that you have, like let's say on your wolves, they were starting to do damage towards the end of that beta test, even at the early game. This could potentially make companions broken at the end game, in my opinion. I think what would have been a better starting point was to fix the AI for the companion skills. Because a lot of the times, for example, with the wolves, if you had hit the activate on the wolves, it would miss completely because of just, they would jump on the mob, but the way the mob was positioned, it would whiff completely. That was a bit frustrating. I wish that they would have addressed maybe that more so than the damage. But I mean, Druid enjoyers, this is phenomenal. I'm just kind of concerned that this would scale too high because of the legendary aspect modifiers that come with this. And remember, these companion skills, they don't consume spirit. So if companion skills are dealing as much damage, I mean, we'll have to see, because if you are juicing your companion skills, you are losing damage effectively in other areas because you're using legendary slots. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to trust their judgment. Hopefully this isn't too broken. We'll just have to see. Let's move on to Necromancer. Summoned minions will die more often. Interesting. Requiring players to utilize corpses more often. Interesting. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. Okay. I hope by this they juice out the sacrifice bonuses a little bit more, because they were kind of lackluster. The damage dealt by corpse explosion skill has been reduced. Okay, now corpse explosion was god tier in dungeons, so this change 100% makes sense for that. I think they needed to do something about blood mist. There's blood mist in the cooldown reduction. Like, there's nothing here with the whole blood mist mechanic where you can permanently stay into iframe. Corpse explosion did need a nerf, but like, yeah, but like, I'm just thinking in other games too, corpse explosion was always extremely strong when it comes to like AoE trash, right? I think they should have started more with a nerf to blood mist, because that is directly tied to the brokenness of corpse explosion. It is, because we have to understand, summon minion like this right here is also a nerf to corpse explosion, in a way, to corpse explosion builds, right? Summon minions dying more often. It is, because what happens when summon minions die, you have to consume corpse to re-summon your minions, which means you have less corpses to deal with, right? On top of the reduced damage. So this is something that you should consider when looking at this. I think this is a good change, though. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead. I think this is a fantastic change. This is good. Let's look at Rogue. So I'm loving these changes. I think the fact that they're not nerfing Inner Sight, Twisting Blades, and nerfing that build, or even the Necromancer build for that matter, I think that clearly shows that, hey, we want the classes to all perform at this god tier level at endgame. I think that's kind of what they're indirectly saying by not addressing those changes, and that's good. I love that, because that made Rogue super fun. Subterfuge skills getting their bonuses increased. This is a massive W for rogues. Multiple passive skills have had their bonuses. I mean, good. Imbuement skills. So people that were relying on the shadow imbuement for AoE damage, they're gonna take a big hit on this. Absolutely. I'm not too concerned about it, because my preliminary build, I replaced the shadow imbue. I got my AoE damage from somewhere else, so I don't really care about this. For my live version build, I am planning on taking an imbuement, but I'm not planning on actually taking shadow imbuement. I'm most likely going to be taking a poison imbuement, and there are legendary aspects that you can pick up, or let's just say that there are end game items that you can get that would address this, at least for the poison imbue. Also, the other thing you need to consider is, for me personally, I'm playing Twisting Blades. Twisting Blades as well, reducing cooldowns on imbuement, not that bad. And the third stance that you get with Rogue's combat, with their class mechanic, Preparation, it is supposedly a cooldown reducing type of mechanic, and if that's true, the impact of this nerf would also be diminished a little bit too. So I don't think this is too bad. If you're worrying about this change, I don't think it's a big deal. Let's take a look at Sorcerer here. Charged bolts damage was increased, and the mana cost to cast was decreased. Decreased the damage of Chain Lightning and reduced its effectiveness against bosses. Okay, so Chain Lightning was like the big early level skill that a lot of people were taking. This is I think this will definitely put them a little bit more in line with them in that early game leveling process. Decrease the cooldown for the Incinerate skills enchantment bonus. Firewalls will now spawn underneath enemies more frequently when using its enchantment bonus. Okay, this is pretty good. The chance for Firewall to proc for the enchantment bonus is a little bit low, making this a little bit less desirable in my opinion compared to some of the other options that you had for your enchantment slots. Increase the lucky hit chance for the meteor skill enchantment bonus. Okay, again, another pretty good one here. UI, let's see. Fix an issue where actions cannot be bound to the mouse wheel. Oh, this is pretty big right here. I think Rax was big on this right here. Chat will now display on the left side of the screen when using a centered action bar configuration. Yes, it was so awkward having this chat on the right. I love these changes. They literally listened to every single change that we had requested, even the small stuff, even the font. Yeah, I do wish they would have given us a screenshot of new font, but these are all really good changes. They're not only giving us the big stuff, they're also giving us all these little things. Let's take a look at the encounters next. Butcher has been reevaluated for difficulty and will present a greater challenge in World Tier 3 and 4. They're going to make him stronger. Another W, by the way. They're going to make him stronger. Bosses such... I hope this doesn't mean, like... make him easier in the early game either. Sellers, currently there's no point in doing sellers. The fact that they're going to be consistently rewarding a chest now and you've got more events in there makes these sellers worth doing a little bit more. General quality of life, fix an issue where players could increase attack speed by move canceling attacks early. So they also fixed the attack speed. Joe Shelley just tweeted this. This didn't make the patch notes, but we also adjusted many skills to make their maximum distances consistent between aspect ratios, like teleport. Another massive W. And this is coming from a guy that abuses Shadow Step, by the way. We'll talk more about this, that abuses Shadow Step on a widescreen. We'll talk more about this in the upcoming... This is another W. This is another thing that people were criticizing the game. Fixed an issue where characters weren't immune and untargetable after loading into an area. The reset dungeon button has been disabled. The reset dungeon button has been disabled. What do you mean? You can no longer click the reset button on the map to reset it? So does this mean we can no longer click the reset dungeon button on the map? Wouldn't they still be reset if you leave your game and rejoin your game? I understand what you guys are saying. Oh, we want them to... I get that. You guys are saying we like the change because they're trying to remove the ability to just continually farm one dungeon. They want you to move around. I get that, and I see the positive in that, even though I know a lot of people will disagree with that. But the reason why I'm saying this is a bad change is because if you can reset the dungeon by leaving the game and then rejoining the game like you can with all ARPGs, all Diablo games, then this is a bad change because you're just making it less convenient to reset the dungeon. And it's even a worse change for launch because leaving your game and reconnecting to your game is going to make you prone to disconnect and put you right back into queue. Trust me, I know this. This is only a good change if they remove the ability to reset the dungeon by leaving your game and rejoining, which wouldn't make sense because what happens when you join your friend's game? If you join your friend's game in your friend's party and he hasn't done the dungeon, then it's not going to be reset, right? So this just makes everything really inconvenient. Other than that, guys, this was phenomenal. I'm so excited because this article represents how much the devs are actually listening to us. Man, these guys went and fixed the font. You know, like the binds. Now you can bind things to your mouse wheel. Every little thing that a lot of the OG content creators, like people like Rax and these people, were requesting. The community was requesting. Guys, this is a W overall. I love it.